We're talking about the Iran war, and obviously the big thing here is the oil, right? That's what everybody cares about. I mean, as much as we all want to say, oh, what about the civilian casualties? Oh, what about the la-di-da-di-da? At the end of the day, no matter how much you play about being concerned with national security or civilians or the environment or whatever your little side issue is with this war, you're concerned about the oil because that's what affects you. That's what hits you. That's what hits your pocketbook is the oil prices. And a lot of people have been wondering, okay, well, why in the hell does this affect us at all? Right? Because I mean, we don't necessarily need Iranian oil. We've got our own oil, right? That's a whole big thing here in Texas is our oil economy. So a lot of people have been very confused as to why something happens in the Middle East and our prices skyrocket. We're going to talk about that in this segment. I want to start by just letting the president have the first word. This is again from that same like Tuesday or Monday speech. It was one of those two. I can't remember which one it was. Again, it has been such a long week. But here he is from the White House talking about, one, we don't need Iranian oil, and two, everybody that's complaining about oil, namely those European nations is who he's really talking to here. Come help us finish this war and get the Strait of Hormuz open. Stop sitting on your hands and actually participate. Here he is saying that.
The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it. We've beaten and completely decimated Iran.
Real quick, put a pin in that statement right there. We don't need it. We haven't needed it. We won't be taking it in the future. I'm going to push back on that in just a minute, but just keep listening.
They are decimated, both militarily and economically and in every other way. And the countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on. So to those countries that can't get fuel, many of which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the Strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran.
All right, so first of all, his speech-giving style is objectively hilarious. Now, is that maybe what you want from a wartime president? I don't know, but I think it is hilarious. Go get the Strait of Hormuz, just take it, build up your delayed courage, and take it and cherish it. You have to cherish the Strait of Hormuz, and we would cherish it, but you're not cherishing it. That's just funny. That's just funny, it is. But I think on the military side of things, I think he is right. Why are we in all these military alliances if they're not, helping us when there is a military conflict? Come on, get your head in the game. Where is Great Britain and your great Navy? I mean, are you kidding me? This is the Navy that single-handedly ended the slave trade on a global level, and now it's just sitting on its hands. Doing what? Nothing. Now, I think there's reasons for that. I think if the UK actually got involved in this war, there would be more terrorist attacks than you could count in the UK, which speaks to their failure on immigration policy. But all that aside, he made the claim that we don't take Iranian oil. We don't need Iranian oil, or oil from the Strait of Hormuz, I should say. And we never have, and we'll never use it in la-di-da-di-da. That's not exactly the case, all right? And I'm going to be an honest broker here. Listen, I voted for Trump. I love Trump. I think he's wrong on this. Now, maybe he's just saying what he needs to say for political or military reasons. I don't know. But he is wrong on this. I've dug up this chart. Just take a look at this. And if you're listening right now, you can't see it. This is why you need to go follow me on X. This will be up by Monday morning. So you can actually go look at this. About 9 a.m. Monday morning is when we usually upload the video to X. So you can see this chart. But here it is. This shows the kind of origination spot of barrels of oil and where they go. Now, what you see if you look at this chart is the oil that originates in the United States goes out. Now, oil that comes into the United States, that's for our, consumer use, that comes from other places. The oil we create is going out. Oil coming in is what we use. And there are some reasons for that. But before we dig into the reasons for that, I want to point you to the Middle East. If you're watching, you can see it. And you can see in the Middle East, there's a bunch of oil going out and coming into the United States. Now, we're also getting oil in from Russia, and this chart is from 2021, so it may be a little bit different now, especially with Russia. These things may have changed, but it makes a point. A lot of the oil that's coming into the United States is not from the United States. What that means is, I'm saying this terribly, the oil that you buy, for example, when you go to fill up your car, that didn't come out of American dirt. You see what I'm saying? The oil that we produce is primarily thinner oil. Here's a picture of it. We have lighter oil, and other parts of the world have darker oil. We process really well that dark, heavy oil, right? It's quite a bit more. It's not as clean. It's not as, optimized for use. It has to have a whole lot more refining. All right. And that's what we do really well here in the Gulf. If you're from the Houston area, you've seen the plants 100,000 times. Those are processing heavy oil primarily from other countries. The oil we produce, especially here in Texas, is that lighter shale oil. You cannot refine it the same way. It needs different processes, almost different refineries entirely. And so that's what we're producing, but that's not where we're refining. Obviously, President Trump said it there in that last segment. You just heard it. We don't need their oil. We produce our own oil, la-di-da-di-da. And he's right. That's true. We do produce our own oil, but we do still kind of need foreign oil. And again, I'll show you this same chart. Oil that we produce is lighter oil, and it goes out to other parts of the world. Oil that we refine and put on our markets here is heavier oil from other countries. And here's the chart showing our oil going out, foreign oil going in. Now, has this changed since 2021, which is when this chart is from? Probably. But the general principle is the same. We still get about 5% of our total oil, our total in oil, from the Middle East. That goes through, more than likely, the Strait of Hormuz. So, when the Strait of Hormuz is closed down, that does affect us. Now, you might say, oh, that's just 5%. That 5% makes a big difference, all right? If you work in the oil industry, you know this. Our margins mean a lot, even if they're relatively small. 5% is a difference maker. So we've essentially lost, our refineries have lost 5% of their supply. Now, you might say, okay, well, why can't we just refine our own oil here and then sell it here rather than sending it off to other parts of the world to be refined and then sold there? I don't know the exact details of this because I'm not a petroleum engineer and I don't work in the oil fields, but I know plenty of my listeners probably do. If you're listening to this station, chances are you have some familiarity with the oil industry. But the long and short of it is heavy oil, crude heavy oil, and crude lighter oils are not just swappable, right? They're not exactly the same. The process to refine them is different. There's different standards. There's different chemicals that have to be used. There's different processes. And our refineries are designed to put out heavy oil. We're designed to take in heavy oil, refine it into things like jet fuel and automotive fuel and things like that. That's what we do. But that's not the oil we produce. So essentially, we produce our oil here. We suck it up out of the ground. It's that lighter, sweeter oil. And then we sand it out to other parts of the world to be refined and used there. And then we import heavy, thicker, sour oils from other parts of the world, and we refine it and we use it here. Now, I can't explain to you the history of why we do that. I'm sure there's folks out there that know. This is maybe something that we'll see about having a guest on to dig into about this more, because again, there's definitely some history here. I mean, this didn't just happen. I think part of it has to do with the fact that fracking is a relatively new technology, and that's how we get a lot of our oil here in the United States, especially our shale oil. We frack it, and that gets lighter oil, I guess. Again, I don't know the details. I don't know the science. I'm going to have someone on to talk about it, but that's the way things are. Our oil in the United States is the lighter oil, all right? And we can't refine it. We just don't have the capacity for that. Now, we are building up that capacity. We had that new plant that was recently approved in Brownsville, and that'll be designed to refine that thinner oil, that lighter oil. And that's a great sign. I would love for us to be able to just completely insulate ourselves from the world market. We suck up all of our own oil from the ground, we refine it all here, and we put it all on the market here. I think that would be great for us. It would completely secure us and insulate us from stuff like that. But developing that takes two things: a lot of time and a lot of money. All right? So I know we're all sitting here going, oh my gosh, I hate paying higher gas prices, and I do too. I'm in the same boat. However, there is an upside to that, all right? And I know that's hard to hear. It's really hard to look someone dead in the eyes. They just pay $100 for a tank of gas in their truck and say, don't worry, there's an upside to you doing that. I know that, all right? So if you're listening right now, don't get pissed off on me, but hear me out on this. These oil companies are going to make a lot of money from this. All right, they just are. The prices are up. They are making more money. Their profits are going to be high, okay? So the question becomes, what are they going to do with that money? If they were smart, and if the government was smart, the government would be pressuring these companies to start developing some of these refineries that can process our oil, our native oil. And they're making all this money. They're going to have all this extra capital. Put that into these refineries so we can level out the price and keep it level for a long time. We've got all this extra money. Let's invest it here. Let's build refineries for our oil here. And that'll prevent this from happening in the future, at least to this extent. These big price spikes because of, foreign whatever. Will that actually happen? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an oil executive. I'm not in those conversations. But that would be a great way to prevent this from happening. That's a long-term solution. There is a short-term solution. The short-term solution is get all that oil that we now have control over in Venezuela. Venezuela produces that same type of heavy oil that we can refine, all right? And they have a bunch of it. We've heard this time and time again, especially in the last several months. Venezuela has huge amounts of crude oil that we can refine. Now, I think at the end of the day, President Trump did screw up the order of operations here. All right? And don't hate me for saying that. I know, listen, I love President Trump as much as the next guy. But I think what he should have done is make sure we have Venezuela completely opened up. Make sure we have plenty of oil flowing in from Venezuela before attacking Iran. Because he had to have known that when you attack Iran, they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. They're just going to do it. So before they close the Strait of Hormuz, cutting off 5% of our oil, and again, that 5% does make a difference. Before we do that, let's make sure we have more than enough Venezuelan oil coming in. Then we attack Iran, and it doesn't matter. Our prices won't go up because we still have plenty of oil coming in from Venezuela. Instead, we've attacked Iran, and now we're opening up Venezuela. Now, that is progress, right? Good things are happening. I do still firmly believe this will be a temporary price shock because we've already seen huge progress on getting Venezuela opened and getting Venezuela oil into the United States. But I feel like if at all possible, we probably should have waited at least several more months before attacking Iran. Now, maybe there was some existential thing. We had to hit them now. We had to go now. We can't wait. I don't know. I'm not in those conversations. That's high-level classified stuff that's going on in the Pentagon. I don't know. But in a perfect world, we have massive amounts of oil flowing in from Venezuela. We had a trickle. We had a trickle of oil coming in from Venezuela. We needed a massive flow of oil coming in from Venezuela. And then we hit Iran. That's not what happened. I don't know what to tell you. I think Donald Trump messed up. Now, maybe he had to do that. Maybe he had to hit Iran early. I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess, but I would have preferred him wait. But anyway, the long and short of it is, our oil goes out to refineries across the world. crude oil comes into the United States and is refined here in our refineries and then goes to our markets. All right. We have lost 5% of that crude oil supply from the Strait of Hormuz being cut off. We need to backfill that with Venezuela. All right. And we can do that. We can, but it is going to take a little bit of time to get done. Now, progress on that, like I said, has already been underway. We're already starting to see that really ramp up. And I'll give you some examples of this. U.S. lifts sanctions on Venezuelan interim leader Delcy Rodriguez. This is from the BBC of all places. So again, I keep getting this accusation on TikTok that I only use right-wing sources. That's not true. This is from the BBC. The United States has lifted sanctions on Venezuelan interim president Delcy Rodriguez. The move comes less than 3 months after U.S. forces seized the country's previous leader, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife in a military raid in Caracas. And so she was sworn in as the interim president. We are now normalizing relations with her. That is a good thing. We have also had a bunch of, I guess, more kind of political things, not necessarily economic things, but it looks like our diplomatic ties are being opened back up. Our consulate in Venezuela is being reopened. That is a good thing. As we normalize those relations, as we get maybe some of our State Department personnel on the ground there, we make it a little bit easier to operate in Venezuela, to do business in Venezuela. That will allow more oil to flow into the United States faster from Venezuela. We can then refine it. It'll hit our markets. It'll bring our price down. I know this is very complicated stuff, and I probably didn't explain it very well, but I hope it gives you some idea of why your price at the pump has gone up. We'll be right back with more of the Next Gen Report in just a minute.